Hello, we're back.
Hi.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, Mace. Welcome back to the show.
Thanks.
You've done homework, and we are excited to hear about your progress.
Yes.
But thank you for coming back.
Of course. It's always fun to hang out with you guys. I was just admiring your opening video and be like, I need to figure out who did your sweet graphics and stuff.
I did all that. But it's funny because I was on Casmo's podcast, and I'm like, I want to steal his because he's got like Apaches and like Kiowas. And so what you can do, what he did, because I told him how to do this, divots, right?
Yep.
So you can get the account and you can go get type in whatever you want and get any kind of video for all that. And that's what he did. He's like, I can do that. And now he's got Apaches and Kiowas and tanks and all that stuff.
For sure. I was just admiring your patch, your logo, like rotating with
that. Yeah. I can make that for you. Do you have something? I've got to
find you on Fiverr and find out what your hourly
rate. $5 and you've got it.
No, dude. Your US help.
$6.90.
There you go. Yeah, there you go.
For that. No, I got a what is it? Element subscription or Motion Array or whatever, and it's just an Adobe After Effects nerd.
Okay, we'll talk offline about this.
Anyway, hey, guess who showed up, Gonky?
Luna.
She has actually. This is for the first time. Mace. The running joke was she wouldn't show up because her contract says she's the only girl, but she's been skipping the show the last couple of weeks. So
she's already sleeping, man.
Dude, she's a dog. They sleep.
Yeah,
that's pretty much.
Nope. Hey, no Doug tonight though. So.
No Doug tonight. He's off on a whirlwind adventure. We'll miss him.
Yes.
He'll be back. And no Wombat. Wombat's probably busy with the meltdown. He's on vacation. That's not his problem. But anyway, how was your weekend, Gonky?
It was good. Speaking of Wombat, it's only been 6 years since we've
forgot about that.
Been face to face, which is shocking since we, known each other for over 22 years. And we have kids that are the same age, and we hung out with them at the beach, which was super cool. And it was just crazy because, little Gonky and little Wombat are no kidding, spitting images, but mini me's. And it was pretty funny to watch. Me and Wombat got a kick out of it. And then icing on the cake, we took both of the boys, both our kids are almost 6, to the Naval Aviation Museum and let them run around. And it's cool because, with kids, you kind of get to relive those moments. At least as a dad, because he gets excited about things and then I get excited about it. So it's cool to watch both the kids running around, climbing into airplanes. And, Wombat was trying to tell him how awesome E2 was, and they kind of blew him off, which was cool. But no, it was a good time. We had a good time. And I can't believe it's been 6 years since I've actually seen Wombat face to face. I mean, we live 4 or 5 hours away, so we got to make it happen more often. But that's probably been the highlight of my week. Was they came down for a family vacation, and we got to hang out.
Yeah, well, and Mace, you have been incredibly busy on the road, and then going tomorrow. Where are you going this week?
Oshkosh.
Oh my gosh.
Maybe.
Oshkosh, bagosh.
Good luck.
Maybe.
I'm flying commercially on Delta, so I'm hopefully going to Oshkosh tomorrow.
Well, you'll get there eventually. There's no promises when.
Yeah, I just talked to someone who's trying to get there today, and he's currently stuck in Minneapolis, couldn't get a flight, and is actually just giving up and going home tomorrow night instead of trying to go.
Sounds like something I would do.
And I'm hopping through Minneapolis, so.
What are you speaking? Are you going to talk to people, or are you just
book
shaking
signing?
Hands? Book signing.
Oh, cool.
Okay. Which book of the two behind you? All of them.
Yes.
Okay.
At the warehouse, which is their big apparel store. It's air conditioned, which is amazing.
Perfect.
Oshkosh is always just so hot.
Really? In Wisconsin?
It's the humidity. It's high 80s, but when you're just out there all day with no reprieve and it's always super sunny.
Yeah.
I just feel like it's very hot. Anyway, I'm doing 3 book signings, so I'll get to see all the little kids.
Wow.
Get to see some super fans.
Nice.
It'll be fun.
Mace, sorry.
Go ahead, Gonky.
I was gonna say, could you rent a car and finish the trip there if you could just get the Mini?
I can. It's 4 hours from Minneapolis. I grew up in Wisconsin, so I'd be like swing by my hometown, say hi to everyone on my way if I wanted to.
How far is that from Vegas if you just drove?
Too far.
Because that's that's immediately the select. John Madden started this, right? He hated flying airlines, so he got the big party bus. Gonky and Mover have also gotten on that train. Doug is now on it too. He drove up to New York.
Yeah. I have an RV that I haul the family everywhere in, Mace. I do not fly with my family.
Flying commercial is just...
Yeah, I literally have a bus that I haul my family in. So
I don't want to go that much. Like if my flight was just canceled on this end, I would just not go at all.
I just see you getting like a Vision Jet.
Yeah,
that's what you need.
Should crowdsource. All of you in the comments, crowdsource,
and then maybe
the books help.
Sponsors.
Buy some books, that'll help.
Mace, have you priced Vision Jets lately? We'd
like $2.5 million.
Solid sponsors.
Doable. I mean,
I would be happy with the SR22T. Like, also,
that's like $1 million, isn't it? 800 grand, 750,
over
something
$1 million.
like that.
No, I think for the turbo, I think the new ones I think are like 1.1 or 1.2. It's a lot for a little 4-seater, but it has air conditioning. I live in Vegas. It's survival of the fittest around here in the summer.
Yeah, turbo.
You can get
high elevation.
A Fuga Magister for like 70 grand.
I'm gonna offend some people. I don't love GA that much. I'll be honest.
Well, Fuga Magister is the old British trainer, so it's a warbird. Gonky, you know what that is? Have you ever seen one?
No, I'm going to look at it right now. What's it
called?
We don't have what?
Fuga Magister. There was a company selling them for like 70 grand. People keep tagging me on the Instagram. They're like, Mover, this has you and
Is that
Luna
a jet? Is that an airplane?
Yeah, dude, it's a trainer. Hold on, I'll pull it up.
Oh heck no, dude. No. That's like it's a V-tail, dude. That's a pilot killer.
Well, not if you're a good pilot.
I feel like another reason I don't love generally. Yeah.
Here you go.
No. Yeah, right. Mason, no.
Those intakes are smaller than like the T-38.
Correct, which is a problem.
Man.
I feel like the maintenance costs are out of my league on that.
Fewer birds can get in the smaller intake.
Perfect.
Glass half full.
And if you do hit a bird, you just open that canopy, crawl out on the wing, and jump out, and you're fine.
Pretty much. Hopefully you packed your chute.
Somebody said Debbie Downers.
I like the Cirrus for 2 reasons: air conditioning.
Oh yeah.
And parachute.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. But then once you pop that chute, you're pretty much
committed.
That's it. Like you're along for the ride. You cannot influence what happens after that.
Yeah, no, and I think you hit pretty hard. Like it's like a minor car accident.
Yeah.
Or maybe a mid-level car accident.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know.
Could be worse though.
Yeah. All right. Well, cool. Excited about that. Not that part, the Oshkosh thing. I'm circling back.
We'll find out if I get there or not.
Yeah. All right.
In Minneapolis. Maybe I'll be in Minneapolis and just do a book signing there.
Mace, how many days are you supposed to go?
Supposed to leave tomorrow and come back Sunday. So like,
oh wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Trip. Yeah.
How many book signings is it?
3. Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Tomorrow is Tuesday.
Yep. So I have a day of slop, but I have a Breitling event tomorrow night that I would really love to attend.
What? Did you have a Breitling watch?
I do. I don't have it on. Hopefully they're not watching.
Okay, and I are too poor.
I'm still waiting for my Air Force issue GPS.
That's this one.
I know
this one right here.
Look, it's like I got nothing.
That's all I have to show for my time at the.
They didn't even give me that, man. It's like I guess I don't need to tell time.
Yeah. Mace is just in disbelief.
I don't even know.
I was like, how did I get on?
The watch is that what you get, like the G-Shock when you start, and then
the Casio,
Garmin's eventually.
Yeah. At the end, they were doing this because it has like an O2 thing that doesn't really work, but it's got a heart rate monitor. And then it's what I use it for. You go to the gym, it's got the rep counter, but it always counts like a drill instructor, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Because, I never do it, but it's actually because I'm getting old and forgetting what set I'm on. Yeah. I'm like, okay, is it set 4 or 3? And then, it tells me. So Anyway,
I like Garmin. Garmin's good. I like to track my movement and like close my move ring and be like, yes, I was active. Now give me that cupcake.
Yeah, it'll say you didn't close your move ring or whatever. Like it'll be you didn't close your move ring today. Are you fat? No.
Yeah. Get up, you lazy piece of crap.
Yeah, just lazy.
That's what mine says.
Just lazy. All right, moving on. Angie says, Mace, saw your NATO stories at the WPS summit. Anything on NATO's agenda on WPS? I've done work on WPS. What is WPS?
Women, Peace, and Security. So there was some longer form conversations that we didn't get to go to because there were just so many different events happening at once. So they kind of picked and chose what we had access to. We went to like the opening reception where some leaders from NATO spoke. I believe it was the president of Sweden. I'm going to probably mess that up. She spoke, and then Secretary Blinken spoke, and something that jumped out at me, obviously that's like a large topic. They were talking about equipment in Ukraine and how many women there are on the battlefield and them not having equipment that fits them. Like they don't have bulletproof vests that are appropriate size for their torso and that kind of thing. So there's a whole initiative to get them appropriate equipment, which is near and dear to my heart because getting a extended zipper flight suit so I could pee in the jet was an act of God the entire time I was in the Air Force. So I was like, yeah, I get it.
Were you on? Because they Tally was on that initial cadre of test women to do the thing in the jet. Remember that, Gonky?
The AMXD.
Yeah, were you in on that? Because there was a group of I think we had Tally was Tally one of the other like the students or something. Then they went somewhere and they rode in the back of a Viper and tested the
device.
Yeah.
I have not tried the new one. When I was in Misawa, so I mean that was 2012 to 15, we got those and they sucked. Literally they sucked, but they were not good. Like they wouldn't take everything, so then you're just like an adult sitting in like your own pee, and the battery life was really terrible, so just like shut off halfway done, and then you're like, well, give me some double A's.
In fairness, sitting in your own pee in an F-16 is pretty common across the jet species. Yeah, I mean that's seen some stuff, and if I couldn't pee in the jet, I probably wouldn't have made it. No, because dude, I when you first start, you're like, okay, I can make it, and then when you realize in the F-16 it's like an hour on an air-to-ground sortie before you even take off, and you're hydrating because you don't want to G-lock because you thought you were going to G-lock, and then you give yourself cancer. Yeah, no, you learn. I got really good at peeing.
Oh yeah,
real good.
I can do it with extended zipper. No, yeah. I was about to say no problem, but it's still a problem. Still plenty of times where even I tell this story a lot because it's just so funny. People see the Thunderbirds and we would land, do our plane side interviews in our very tight, perfect fitting flight suits. Many, many a times I purposely did not turn around because I would have a piddle pack mishap. And I would get out of the jet and I'm like, I am representing the U.S. Air Force on camera and I have pee pants.
I'm still wearing my dirty pee pants right now.
I'm an elite trained fighter pilot in my 30s in my pee pants.
That's why they had that little vent.
Good on you. Wow.
The crotch vent right in the Viper because that was supposed to dry out your pee accidents.
I think just anatomically it sits too far back on women that it's like diaper butt. And then you'd have to like do a wall sit against the back of the seat to get airflow enough to dry.
You got to loosen the straps.
We're going deep on this topic right out the gate.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
It's it's the little things in the world of being a fighter pilot that actually matter, and peeing in the jet is one of them.
It's a big deal. Yeah.
How do you do a 7-8 hour mission without going to the bathroom? Like you said, Mover, while you're drinking water, so you can at least stay quiet because it gets hot in there. It's
Gonky, you were making fun of me because I didn't have a funny deployment story. My squadron commander in Balad shut down and ran to the porta potty and told me to go without him as a wingman. I had no idea what I was doing.
I'll wait, sir. I'll wait.
I don't know how to go without you, sir.
Which way do we take off?
Yeah, well, because number 2 in the jet is just not a thing. There's no way. It's not
It has not, this is not me personally, but it has been done successfully. I've been part of a formation where it was successfully done by another person in the formation.
Was a helmet bag sacrificed?
Yes. Well, yes.
That's the stories I've heard.
Gloves were lost.
Lunchbox.
Oh, terrible. Yeah.
There was much rejoicing on the radio when he came back up on comms.
You got to be careful. That's dangerous because I always had to unstrap, and there was that guy that in the Viper, you unstrap and it hits the stick, and then you got into that continuous aileron roll, had to jump out. That's a serious business.
That really happened.
You don't want to jump out. Turns out
that really happened, Gonky.
Really? He couldn't stop the roll and had to.
He put the seat down, and the waist belt buckle was wedged between the ejection seat and the stick.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, I guess
and he couldn't get it undone.
Right. Wow. And the seat got stuck. So the seat motor's running and like wedging it against the stick, and he started rolling. And if you're unstrapped, obviously that ejection's not going to go well.
Bad things, Gonky.
Wow.
Yeah, it's dangerous business being a fighter pilot, but you know what? We're going to explore all of that.
It's about the most dangerous part of it right there.
Well, hold on. Well, we'll get to your NATO adventure because now people want follow-ups on we haven't gotten to the meat of the mission here. Janitor is back, says, Mace, your garage workouts are legendary. No lazy there. Did you start lifting steel beams and pulling buses before the Air Force? Are you pulling buses now, Mace?
No, I prefer airplanes, right? Someone pulled an airplane. I feel like I saw a video of that. It's like some strongman competition.
Like a carbon cub or a real big old airplane?
Like a jet.
No, like a jet.
Like a big jet.
Yeah. My garage gym is terrible, right? Guys, we hit 120 degrees in Vegas a week ago. My garage gym is just a garage without air conditioning.
Yeah.
But when you train in the heat, right, it makes it more real.
Yeah, right. I was in there this morning. It wasn't too bad. It was like 8 a.m. or something. It was okay. But
it was like 90.
I might have caved this summer for the first time and got like a box gym membership for when I'm not making it happen first thing in the morning. It's like 2 miles.
You got to do the Jocko thing and take a picture of your Casio.
Yeah, I don't really care if I work out at 4:30 a.m. or if I work out at 3 p.m. I also like sleep.
Well, you could take a picture of your Breitling.
My Breitling in the gym.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying a little bit of dual thing. Peter, thank you. And then Peter also says, first time watching you live, you're talking about peeing in the jet. Love it.
It's an important part of.
It's a thing.
It's the topics that the people want to know about. Ethor, what's up, Ethor? Says, serious fun started. Mace, could you talk a little bit about behind the scenes of Oshkosh being a performer? Also off the rails in 10 minutes, normal show.
Oshkosh is so far from a normal air show that I can talk about behind the scenes of an air show, but Oshkosh is like normally you go to an air show and all of the spectators drive themselves to the show and it's a traffic jam on the ground, on the roads. Not all of them fly themselves, and it's so the traffic pattern at Oshkosh, if you watch like FlightAware or any of the trackers, it's insane. It's like the busiest airspace in the country. Half those people are fairly new pilots. A lot of experimental stuff is coming in. So just the types of airplanes that are being sequenced in, they're landing one after another. They're landing on different dots, spaced out on the runway at the same time, which from a fighter pilot mentality is terrifying. It's impressive, like really good controllers there. Really impressive that they're able to do what they do, but I don't really have a desire to fly in there, I'll be honest.
Okay. Nope. I saw the Viper today. It looked like he either did a low approach or just flew low and then did an unrestricted climb because it was like this low, like straight up vertical. So I was like,
they bring military jets in there.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously.
Viper demos performing, I think.
Yeah. AADFW AMTR says female police officers have trouble with duty belts. True.
Okay.
And then Renee says this whole conversation takes care of the sexy jet.
Yep.
Yeah. And pilots and sketchy dudes wear Breitling, says Patrick.
I'll take one.
Yeah, you're like, I fit both those categories.
I fit them both. That's right. Maybe I should have 2.
Just checking in on Luna. She's
out. When she wakes up, she's gonna be mad. Move her. So you know.
Why? For filming her while sleeping?
It's in the contract.
Oh, it's in the contract. She can only look. Anyway. All right. Moving on to our topic. Mace's. This almost sounds like a movie title. Right? Mace's NATO adventure. Tell us about your time. And you went to DC.
Yeah.
You solicited questions from the audience.
Yeah.
Which we did. Actually, hey, was that a question for Mace, Gonky, that I sent you? We'll get to that later. Dan sent for you. Okay, perfect. It wasn't about this. Anyway, tell us about NATO.
Yeah, it was interesting because the reason I was invited by NATO, by their office that handles content creation. So they have an office within NATO that does content creation for social media, works with influencers, and I was like, seems like a cool opportunity. I'll go do that. And there's really no content creation requirements from them. So it's not like this contract. I did not get paid. They just covered my travel. But really cool opportunity. And there were about 30 of us. And there were some people with really big followings, like 1 million plus, a lot of YouTube channels that are focused on military content, a lot of people from all over the world. So it was not just Americans. There were, people from various NATO countries that were part of it. I was a little bit surprised that NATO had like that office, but I see why, because their whole goal was to get the younger generation kind of up to speed on what NATO does, why it's important, all of that. And I think by the end of the first day of the forum, the content that was off the cuff created by our little group through YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, stories, permanent posts, all the things had reached over 11 million people. Wow. And so they're like, this is the best. And they just covered travel for everyone. So smart move on their part to start doing that. And it was really cool behind the scenes. I got all the questions and I got a bunch off of mine as well. There weren't opportunities to ask all of them. I only had a couple of opportunities to directly ask questions to people. And I wasn't always face to face with people that could answer the specific questions that people asked, but I got what I could.
Now you were alone and unafraid, right? So
yeah,
I saw your interviews. Who was the camera person?
Some NATO employee that was like,
really?
Yeah.
So they would like follow you. Or did you have your own attaché?
Our entire group had a bunch of handlers, essentially making sure that we got through the security we needed to get through, that we had the badges that we needed. Obviously, putting 32 world leaders in one building, plus their entourages. And this isn't just like a NATO representative from pick whatever NATO partner. It was literally the presidents or the prime ministers from every one of those countries, plus a lot of press secretaries, a lot of like defense secretaries. It was like the top leaders for every NATO partner were there at once. It was pretty crazy.
Wow.
That's pretty cool.
It was impressive. Like just to see all of them like mingling with each other as peers, like shooting the shit, joking around before like different forums and councils started. And obviously super high security. Traffic was a nightmare in DC. Yeah. Secret Service people were everywhere, local police, all the things. It was cool.
Did you get any job offers to be like the defense minister of any small countries? I'm sorry, big countries.
I had to sign that NDA, so we can't.
Was there any dancing? Because TikTok-y, they like to dance, and Gen Z boss in a mini. Was there any of that?
That was definitely not the dancing crowd. I felt one of the least informed people in the group, honestly, because a lot of you guys have seen my content, and like a lot of the people that are watching probably have. It's not even as current event and military focused as you guys are, right? Like I'm just doing life.
Yeah, you're doing you. You're inspiring. You're not
inspiring.
You're not covering events or dancing or influencing.
Complaining.
I don't really see when I think of influencers, I think of like, hey guys, buy my, whatever. And if you don't, then F you.
I think it has a negative connotation. I don't like to be called an influencer.
No.
But I think people consider anyone who makes content and has built some sort of business around it.
Following.
Like a decent size following. You guys are influencers as well by that definition.
No, you just don't talk to me in that tone of voice. There's not going to be. We'll stop it right now with that kind of talk. We are a serious news organization.
Well, nobody called us to go to NATO, so we're probably not news or influencers.
The NATO influencers conference.
No.
So
they are. They're tracking this episode tonight. It's reach, and they're counting it in its reach of the content creators they brought out.
Mace, they've already logged off.
You're on the radar.
The plane.
Yeah, we talked about peeing for 15 minutes. We showed the dog. I think we're safe, Gonky.
Dogs are unifying force. Everyone likes dogs. And everyone in NATO pees. So I think that is a good start.
Only if I can bring her. She
was up to it.
She's so funny. No, that's cool. And I guess the question then is, would you go back? Is that something like you did it and you're like, I did it once? Or is it something you want to make this a continuing thing? Like, what do you see? Like, what do you think? What message can you bring back from this, and kind of how did it help you or help them or whatever, besides just getting a reach?
Yeah, I think there's cool future opportunities to travel in Europe, like to go to their headquarters in Brussels, to do some cool stuff where you get to go kind of in bed with NATO forces military and like do some behind the scenes stuff there, which would be really fun. I'm always up for free European travel. So that could be cool. And I thought the benefit for me, since my content doesn't really center around that, it wasn't like this huge opportunity to create a lot of amazing content.
Yeah.
But it gave me like a peace of mind, because shit's crazy in the US right now. Right.
Things are happening. Yeah.
Right.
We live in highly unprecedented times, and I'd rather go back to precedented times if we could.
Yeah. Stuff is crazy here. And anyone that watches the news, it feels like the sky's falling and like just mass chaos is ensuing. And to go to NATO and see like 32 different countries who all have their own politics going on. They all have their own culture. They all have their own like economies and different defense spending priorities, and all these differences come together and actually get so much shit done when everything that they accomplish has to be unanimous among all 32 of them. Like, think how hard it is to get 12 members of a jury to agree on something where they have like two choices.
Yeah.
To take 32 countries that are so different from each other and that work pretty dang well together, and to kind of just see everyone being like, we have common goals, we respect one another, we have normal conversations where we don't call each other names. Like, just, it was like, oh, like shit's stable here compared to what it feels like at home right now. So that was just nice. I think all of us were like, huh, okay. Like, this will pass. The world's not going to end. Things will move forward. Yeah.
See, that's why they probably didn't invite Gonky, because he would go over there, insult one country, go insult another country. Next thing you know, NATO's at war against each other. He's like, oh, this is the little country of what? Who'd you say you were? Yeah, sure.
Dude, look,
it's a tiny country. He's starting wars.
No watches, no invite, no NATO. I get it. It's cool.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's because we were about to announce that Gonky is actually the running mate for the Harris campaign. He's going to be the vice president.
Balance out that ticket.
Yeah.
Oh, I got to work on my speaking.
Make America Gonky again.
That's right.
I wear that hat.
MAGA, baby.
Yeah. So, hey, from the people at home, Angie's got some really great questions. So I hope you were ready for this. Angie says, Mace, climate security has shifted from human security to national security. This reads like a question out of ACSC.
I know. I'm like,
for national security for us in the Indo-Pac, is there a similar trend in the Atlantic, and what are NATO's priorities on that?
I think the discussions on that were in the classified area. We were not allowed in, I'll be honest. Like, it wasn't in the public forum part. Climate security is definitely something that was mentioned, but I feel like 90% of the summit that we had access to was talking about Russia, Ukraine, defense spending in that regard. That's kind of like stealing the whole conversation right now. But in the Indo-Pac, so a few people in my comments on my Instagram brought up that NATO is just too much in their silo in Europe, and like the rest of the world is isolated from it, and that's going to cause problems. The Indo-Pacific reps were all there, like with very much intention of showing the world that the operability goes beyond Europe. So Japan, Korea, Australia, and New Zealand all had their leaders there as well, and there was quite a few different councils and forums that were going on where they were in the discussions. Like they were almost treated like, other than they don't have an official vote at the table, but they were almost treated like NATO members as far as I could tell from the limited perspective I had. So that was interesting to see. And there was actually discussion from some of the NATO leaders that we got to ask questions to. They said that our positioning of supporting Ukraine and stopping Russia is sending a message to China in their aspirations around Taiwan. Like they were very open about that. They're like, this is sending a global message. So
what messages are we sending today? Stop. We're sending some messages. I don't know what they are. It's like a busy signal. It's what we're sending. We're just sending
beep,
when
beep,
you take
beep,
the
beep,
phone
beep.
off the hook and it's just a busy signal. All right. Thank you, Mace, for that. That was
cool. Yeah.
Ether says Gonky wasn't invited for bowling. Mover wasn't, as he'd be asking every country to fly Vipers for them.
Why wouldn't you? I mean, planes need people to fly them.
Yeah.
I mean, look, if a small, medium, or large country wants to make me their defense minister, I will make that country great. Just straight up.
So not just fly the Vipers, but be the
Well, I mean, you got to lead from the front. You got to lead. I'll be, Viper 1, and then the rest of the country will have Vipers, and then we will all, invade the slightly smaller countries.
Okay.
I was gonna say Ukraine might have some spots for you, but
they might
with the invade the smaller country part.
Well, they're too busy. I want somebody that starts out peaceful. It's not currently involved. Janner's back says, is there a mechanism to keep a president from just pulling out of NATO?
I am not as smart as I should be on what has to happen in our government to leave that alliance.
A treaty. How do you get out of a treaty?
Well, they break treaties all the time.
Yeah. I mean, we've left other things, like right?
Yeah.
Isn't that how it works?
Toilet paper.
The whole thing. The U.S. is leaving.
Yeah, I don't know. Janner's back says Mace hard-hitting interview with Admiral Kirby needs to be played. I don't have access to that, but tell us about.
Yeah.
Well, I saw it on her. Go to her Instagram. It's pretty awesome. But tell us about that, because that was an interesting interview.
I had actually had 2 chances to talk to him. That was the second one that you saw on my Instagram. We had one small in-room meeting with just our 20 of us and him. He hung out for an hour and answered any questions people had, which was pretty cool. I did not know that he is a former Blue Angels public affairs officer. And so when we would ask a question, I raised my hand to ask about F-16s in Ukraine, and you introduce yourself. So I told him what my background was, and he immediately started throwing shade at the Thunderbirds. And I was like, okay. So we had some funny banter back and forth right out the gate, which is what teed up my question a couple days later when I saw him, where I asked him on camera and on mic why he would say that the Thunderbirds are so much better than the Blue Angels. Clearly he's got some public affairs training. He handled it very well. And he's like, I would in fact not say that. And then he went on about how much he liked working with the Blue Angels, and that one of his favorite things is when they worked with the Thunderbirds, because the teams just work so well together. And that was one of his favorite assignments, blah, blah, blah. It was kind of fun to show that friendly rivalry between the teams with such a senior official, right? He got out as an admiral, retired admiral. Now his current official title is so long I have to look at White House National Security Communications Advisor.
Okay.
Yeah. But do you want to hear about F-16s in Ukraine? Because I feel like
sure. I'm gonna take this little because that's not. Hold on.
I did ask Admiral Kirby about that first, and he said that there was a big announcement coming at the forum or at the summit, and he couldn't get ahead of his boss, so he couldn't say more than it's in the works. And then the next morning is when Secretary Blinken said Ukraine's will be flying, or F-16s will be flying in the skies of Ukraine this summer, which was like the most concrete timeline anyone has given. So that was a big deal. It made like all the national news and stuff. This summer is kind of vague. And then I saw Admiral Kirby again, and I asked him, well, is that like a 2-ship? Is that like an entire squadron?
Just the one.
He was like, it's more than a couple formations, but it's going to take some time, as we all know. And I asked a lot about how they're going to be supported logistically. Like, cool, those pilots just went through training here. They're good to go, but we all know like a lot more goes into actually becoming tactically proficient than one course. Right. And I don't know what weapons they're going to have. I don't know what avionics they're going to have and what their knowledge in employing those things is. And also all of their maintainers that need to support that stuff. And also all of the parts that they need to fix those jets. Like it's such a bigger footprint than people realize. And I look at the Thunderbirds putting 6 jets up each weekend and having over 90 maintainers in that squadron.
Ooh.
Experienced, very experienced.
Experienced maintainers. Yeah. So it is not a light lift to give new jets to a country that's currently at war.
Yeah. Wow. And then Patrick
like pilots mover.
Yeah. Well, Patrick says, the 2024 National Defense Authorization Act requires a senatorial supermajority to withdraw from NATO. So there's your book answer. Patrick, also a new Patrick, says, welcome back, Mace. Always good to see you on the show. And of course, Mover and Gonky.
Thanks, man.
What are we? Chop liver?
After
yes.
That's the one we just talked about. Will Wheatley. Good Lord. Thank you, Will. Nice to catch you all live. Thanks for the stories, Mace. I want my daughter to know that she can do anything she puts her mind to. Keep up the good work, Mover and Gonky. That's awesome.
Thanks, Will.
And then this is from last week's show. Juan Pedro Fiznadi. Hi, guys. It's awesome to see Mace. Hey, the C-17 missile revolver concept was confirmed to be fake, just a render from some random dude. Damn it.
Wait, what is this? This sounds awesome.
Oh, so last week we talked about C-17 bubbas. We're going to get their own weapon school because they had this revolver, right? And it was 2 racks that would throw hypersonic missiles out the back, and they would light off and then, go kill whatever they're going to kill. And so we were talking about that. And one of the things I forgot to mention, in all likelihood, a loadmaster would end up riding one. And that's probably why it would never end up working, because you'd have Slim Pickens style. You'd have the loadmaster take off. But
where'd he go?
Yeah, Gonky got some flack and some hate mail because he insulted the C-17 Moose community.
Oops.
Yeah.
Well, I think it was you that said that the hypersonic would come out the back and then it would fire and they'd shoot themselves down, right?
I was worried about that testing. The first time, because missiles, they don't always work. That's all. I mean, Mace, do you have any thoughts on this? Would you like to fly a C-17 that's throwing hypersonic missiles out the back?
And that then pass you on the
12-foot missile, like 12 to 20 feet. I mean, we're not talking like AMRAAM. We're talking big honking missiles.
Yeah, I don't want to test those. That sounds cool though.
I want to watch. I don't
proof of concept.
Yeah, I mean, do that. If you're not testing it, by the time it's safe, then you really just don't know the difference. They just tell you to fly to a point, they open the door, they throw it out, and you don't know what happened. You see something going off the left wing.
I'm just drinking my coffee.
You're just drinking your coffee.
C-17.
And then if you have to pee, you get up and go to the bathroom. You're not even worried about all the things we just talked about.
That's very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You're just like, hey, is the autopilot still on? Okay, cool. LNAV, VNAV, path. Patrick says, oh God, is Gonky Rattler. Gonky, do you know what that means?
I'm not a character in Wombat's book.
I'm so glad you got that right, because I was a little worried that you wouldn't get it. Because I know you don't read.
But I like pictures and I can listen a little bit.
Yeah, it is an audiobook. Sigmund Markowski says, former Navy AT-3E4 for life and current second responder for 24 years and counting. Oh, thank you for your service, man. Love the show and all the guests. Keep doing what you guys are doing.
Thank you.
He also just threw out a blank one there. And Janitor's back says, Gonky bullying a C-17. Isn't he a C-130 crew member?
Commander, sir. I just posed for one for a glamour shot, apparently.
It's the recruiting poster now.
Dude, I'll never, ever, ever send you another picture.
That's it's your fault for trusting me.
My fault, dude.
All right, live look at Luna and how she's enjoying the show.
She's rotated.
Yeah, she hasn't left yet.
No,
she looks happy.
Okay. Moving on to our next topic. Mace, you'll be an expert on this probably. Do you recall, I think it was during COVID, when the Blues almost hit the drone? Were you guys talking about that for yourselves as well? Was that like a threat?
It was not talked about until that insane footage. I think it was when they did the Detroit flyover, which we kind of split up once we were in like the Midwest, and we did the coasts together, or at least the East Coast. So we were not with them when that happened, but I saw the footage and it was insane. It was much closer than the one we're about to look at.
So it's still happening. And I think this has actually made some drone operators pretty angry. It says the FAA is investigating Pensacola Beach Blue Angels drone video. I'll try to play it. I'm not sure if it will. We don't have Doug to help us out, but
the FAA is now investigating a drone.
Let's say
this video Angels as they made their way back home after an air show. Chris Wallace is a pilot.
So they flew right up underneath it.
And
okay, I guess we're not. That's how close they got, right?
Home after an air.
Turn off. Okay. So what do you think that is? Maybe 200 feet, 100 feet vertical?
Yeah, a couple 100 feet. I mean, too close for someone who cannot get out of the way if you need them to.
Yeah. So the article basically says the FAA is investigating drone video was shot in Pensacola Beach earlier this month. The drone pilot, which it just means he's a 107 operator, very dangerous for all the pilots. They've received 327 reports of drones going too fast or too close to that, and they have to go to a 3-day drone training course. So Gonky, you're familiar with that airspace, right?
Yep.
That is on the beach. You're within Pensacola's airspace. So the only way you can legally operate a drone in that controlled airspace is to be in comm with tower and get a waiver, which obviously this didn't have. Otherwise, the FAA wouldn't be going after them. And it is incredibly dangerous, right? Because Mace, I mean, how maneuverable is your formation?
We have a big sky theory kind of policy because you are way more likely to hit the jet next to you than a bird, which is usually the issue, or a drone would be treated the same. So the boss would try to maneuver the formation if it was like another airplane, but for something that small, by the time you see it, you're just holding and hoping that it goes between the jets. Like many times flying formation, large aircraft like Raptors would split our formation, and it was scary. You'd see them like tumble over the canopy of a jet next to you, and you're just like, "Nope, that did not hit the tail." Like, luckily, someone's watching it happen, so you know it didn't actually hit the airplane.
Yeah.
But I think it'd be the same with drones. You're not going to move at that point.
Well, and we've broken down video of what happens when you have to move with the helicopter. Right?
Yeah.
When you guys were doing the COVID flyovers, I mean, that was just one little movement. The whole formation's out of whack.
Yeah. The pacing, like the bosses, both for the Blues and for the Thunderbirds, like it's almost like sing on the radio, and we hear that and react to that. And so they'd be like, left turn, and then they would start turning on like turn. And so the amount of time that would take for the boss to recognize what's about to happen, no one else is looking forward to speak, and for it like to process through everyone's brains and start the formation moving, you would have already hit it.
Yeah. And so the biggest risk, I think, would be you take one down the intake, right? So now you're zoom store, there's no storage jet, but you're zooming, trying to get the 1-to-1 to go to Pensacola and hoping that, at that low altitude, you can trade your airspeed for energy and make the flame out landing happen. Or it goes through the canopy. That's the other thing.
Damage. You hit an I think the worst case scenario is that it hits the jet and causes movement that hits another jet. So the jets hit each other.
Yeah. I mean, cool shot. But, we had, do you ever meet Kevin LaRosa? Did you ever meet K2? Oh, you do know K2. Yeah.
Turns out there's like people that do this professionally.
Yeah. The 6 degrees of K2 at this point. That's awesome. But we interviewed him on the channel.
Oh, nice.
And he talked about doing the Blue Angel IMAX video and the amount of deconfliction he had to do with the helicopter. And that's with a big helicopter. They didn't do it with drones. They did it with a helicopter with a gimbal camera.
Yes.
And having a former boss in his cockpit to help him to know where they were going to be out of the way.
And all that's pre-coordinated and briefed. And like so much planning goes into that.
Right. Not just some amateur with a, DJI Mavic.
I hate it. I hate it.
Yeah. It's like that fly. There's nothing dangerous about the distance of that flyby, but like you said, Mace, like as long as it's briefed and coordinated and the boss knows it's there, right? And it's part of the show. But when you're just a guy with a drone just trying to get a close shot, I mean it's risky.
Yeah, it could. Yeah, go ahead, Mace. Sorry.
You just don't know what altitude they're going to be at. Yeah, they have their planned, but I cannot tell you how many times maybe you get delayed on your descent from ATC, or maybe like some jet has some issue going on with it, so you're working it on the radio, so you're late to join up or whatever, and you end up being high because things aren't going perfectly paced. I can guarantee that they've done that beach run not exactly at the same altitude many times.
Yeah. And so I was going to say, I've done the 107 course, which if you've already got your license as a private pilot or whatever, it's a pretty easy course. It's not a whole lot to it except learning the rules. And the biggest thing is, number one, I think they've enacted it now, or they were going to soon. All these drones have to be registered. They all have to be communicating and be able to send out their position and serial numbers. And there was all kind of stuff you have to put on the drone IDs, unless they're below a certain weight. But the FAA can track that, and that rightfully so, because they want to be able to go and see this. But like I was talking about earlier, you can't do this in controlled airspace. You can't do this in towers airspace, which is what Pensacola is. And the reason Pensacola's airspace is because they're talking to tower and it's helping them deconflict from stranger traffic, civilian traffic, military, every which, because this was Blue Angel practice, right, Gonky? This was like their final Pensacola practice or something like that, close to it.
I thought it was their beach. I thought it was their local.
That you guys just did. I mean, weren't you guys watching that last week?
Yeah, and the thing is, I mean, usually, I mean, they will own that airspace when they're flying there. Like, there's nobody, little Cessnas and stuff aren't allowed in there. Closed. It's sanitized airspace just for the Blues.
Yeah, and Mace, you've talked about the radar mech. The radar's not going to pick that up, even if you're, even if you did have an extra brain bite.
At it anyway.
Yeah, nobody. Even if you could, it's not going to pick it up. So it's just like a bird. So very dangerous. We don't recommend it.
Stop it.
Please don't. Rule number 1: don't be a douche. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Cool. Back to the audience. Actually, you know what? Check out the Luna Cam.
Oh.
That's awesome. To be a dog.
She's slowly moving her way out. This is exactly me at any social event. Starting, here, sliding my way out. Next thing you know, she's going to be out of the frame.
Yeah, 4 legs out the door.
Yeah, she's ready. She's like, you know what? It's an hour and a half till bedtime. Dan says, for Gonky's C-130 cert.
Oh, man.
Speaking of Dan's, I'm going to do this now before I forget. We've got a question for the podcast. I'm not going to put it up on the screen. I'm just going to read it. So bear with me for a second. Hey, Mover, Gonky, and Mace. Hope everything is well down there. 2 things. 1, had the pleasure of seeing the Thunderbirds in London, Ontario. Right? O-N? You believe that? I think
that's so. Right.
There's a lot of Londons out there. A couple years back. Super cool experience. Secondly, if you had to choose between the ability for the Viper to have super cruise, more gas, or extra control surfaces that increase the Viper's alpha max, what would you choose and why? Thank you again for your time. Cheers. And from the pups, Echo and Viper and I. Mace, I will ask you this question. Super cruise, more gas, or some way to get more alpha?
I mean, can I have like a clean Viper with just endless gas? Because that would be badass.
Would it change your G limits though? Or you're saying no penalty whatsoever? It just
I don't want to pull any more G's. No, thank you. I don't really want to learn to fly a new airplane at this moment, so let's just keep it as is. But I can just go really fast and not have to worry about running out of gas.
So more gas.
This is like magical. So is this like a superpower where it can just have?
No, I think it's like, would you like some conformal fuel tanks? You know,
would you like those? Nah.
Yeah. Would you like that? Would you like some Hornet gas instead of Viper gas?
I thought this was like would you rather
is it
be able to fly as a superpower or be invisible?
No, I think he was asking about expanding the capabilities.
Yeah, I think this was like a legitimate question.
Like a super Viper.
Like, depending on what you say, he may go design it.
It's Mr. General Dynamics. Let's see.
Well, it's Lockmart now. General Dynamics.
Or
the way of McDonnell Douglas.
I mean, that high AOA would be nice.
Oh yeah. Haven't done the high AOA. Yeah. No. That was my favorite part of the Hornet, just seeing what it could do. Like you know, you go out on a 1v0 and you're like, God, this is awesome. I'm like upside down and I'm still flying. This is great.
Okay. So if we're not in super like dreamland, I guess I would pick that.
Well, because the Viper can already super cruise. Did you ever super cruise the Viper? Yeah, it'll super cruise. Yeah. It'll do it. Hornet will do it. You know, it's not like Raptor super cruise or whatever, but it'll do it. You know, Alpha. It's a song. It's part of the Dos Gringos song.
Or just yes to everything. Can you do that? I mean, just dream big. Let's dream big.
Yeah. Yes. That should have been
Alpha.
No,
power.
I don't want all that extra gas, even though if it comes down to 2 seats or one, I'd rather have the extra gas, of course. But if you're, because then you're extending. Like I'm old now, Gonky. I'm a 1.0 kind of guy. I don't want to be up there longer. Like I don't want to do a 2.0 BFM. Like I want to just do like a 0.7 and go home.
Same. I was just imagining like cruising across the country to get places.
Yeah. But even then, 2 hours land. You know, I don't want to be up there longer because then they're like, "Hey, why'd you land there? You still had 4,000 pounds of fuel." Well,
but it's questions. It's this thought process though that takes you from like the F-18A, like really light, super nimble, to the F-18F. Much bigger, not as nimble. It's got like it has a whole lot more of whatever gas, engines, and everything, but I don't know. It's not as much of a fighter plane, in my humble opinion. I think the F-16 was the same, right? It started out just a winder and a gun platform, and then now it's like it does everything, but it's a lot heavier, right?
I don't know what the weight increase has been. I feel like it's so dang maneuverable still, unless you load a bunch of stuff on it, obviously.
Right.
I don't want to pull more than 9 Gs. Do you want it to be able to pull more than 9 Gs? Like, no, thank you.
No,
all the time.
But the alpha part is great because when you get slow, it's a lot nicer. Anyway, as you can see, she's left the chat.
Oh, I was hoping just her nose would be poking.
Laura said, "I'm loving Luna's passive aggression tonight," and no kidding. I looked up and I was like, "Oh, she's gone. She's really gone. I don't know where she went." But yeah, so Dan says appreciate answering all my questions, and then also he's giving you $2 Canadian for your C-130 cert.
Probably not going to pass.
Aaron says, Mace, do you know if the Thunderbirds ever considered doing a video like the Angels did with Dreams?
With with Dreams? Is that like the IMAX?
No, the Van Halen.
Van Halen.
Back in the day.
Oh, way back. Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, we're before my generational knowledge of Blue Angel videos. I cannot confirm or deny that there's something in the works, but you should just stand by. Hopefully it gets through the final steps and there'll be some stuff.
I wonder if like a fan has put a Thunderbird performance
for sure. 100%.
Yeah.
100%. All right, moving on. We're not going to talk about the cool kids anymore. We're going to move on to fatties, because once again in the news is Southwest Airlines.
Something weird going on over
there.
there.
But this one, so a little weird.
Something in the water.
Well, it's a little different. And I say this because, so the news reported, or at least one of the aviation YouTubers or whatever reported, that a Southwest 737 at Tampa had to do a go around after a low altitude alert, and the lowest they got was like 150 feet. So I watched that. I was like, man, that looks like a wind shear event or something, because usually you don't get that low that far out unless something bad happened. So I'm glad we're doing this today, because just today, Vast Aviation, which Gonky, we've liked that channel.
Yeah,
right? We're a big fan of those
guys. Yeah, it does good work. Really good work.
So they came out with the ADS-B corrected altitudes. So apparently with an ADS-B, if you don't correct it for the altimeter, which was 3014, it's standard day, which is 2992. So it actually didn't get that low, but it still got low. And here's what happened. I'm going to play that. So putting this together, they do a great job. Go check out their channel. Very, very bad weather. And the backstory here too is they were coming from, I think, Columbus.
Yeah.
They held for 45 minutes before they shot the approach. And then you'll see them do the go around. They'll divert to Fort Lauderdale. And people ask, why'd you divert to Fort Lauderdale? Well, at that point, you get one approach and you're done, because they've been holding for so long. Plus the weather wasn't great.
And FedEx 562 Heavy, what were the flight conditions on final day?
It was pretty bumpy, probably plus or minus 10-ish knots or so.
So plus or minus 10 knots, not really a wind shear event.
Okay, right that.
It's notable.
Simply 125, do you copy the ride report?
Affirmative, we clear land 10, JetBlue 125.
Simply 125, affirmative. Cleared land runway 10, and FedEx just landed, report a gain of loss of 10 knots off your ride.
Roger that, JetBlue 125.
So they're not getting wind shear warnings or alert, but you can see the weather is pretty bad.
Way to Tampa Tower, runway 10.
They don't usually use 10 because
gateway 2.
It doesn't have an ILS.
The previous arrival reported gain of loss of 10 knots on final bumpy ride, and the wind at Tampa 110 at 13, gust 24. Very good, sir.
Not terrible. Southwest 1256 comes in, and he gives the longest pyro up in human history. Did you watch this, Gonky?
No. 1256 Tampa Tower. Previous arrival reported gain of loss of 10 knots and a bumpy ride on the final.
He's like,
the wind at Tampa 110 at 13, gust 24, and runway 10, you're clear to land.
Clear to land 10, thanks, Southwest 1256.
So I think the
South 425. We're with you for 10.
Left number
425 Tampa Tower reported gain of loss 10 knots on final bumpy ride, and continue for runway 10.
Continue for 10. We got you, Southwest 425. Thank you.
Roger. And the wind 120, gust 20. Southwest 425, runway 10, clear to land.
10, clear to land. Thank you, South 425.
South 1256, turn left at November 2, and contact ground point 7. How was your ride on final?
All right, November 2.7, Southwest 1256. Actually, 3 miles and in with moderate rain and just a light chop. The bad stuff is probably 5, 6, 7 miles out with the gun.
Okay, roger that. Thank you.
A lot of words.
Yep.
Jamming up the frequency. All right, so here's the low altitude.
And Southwest 425, low altitude alert, check your altitude.
So he's at the final approach fix, which I believe he's supposed to be. We'd have to look at the plate, but he's at 800 feet. I think he's supposed to be at 1600 at 140 knots, so he's almost 1,000 feet off.
Tampa's altimeter 3014.
3014, thank you, Southwest 425.
All right, so there you go. So he's right at 1,000 feet low based on the corrected, and that is at the final approach fix. So not where you want to be. With that, 130 knots, I mean, on a 7.3, that sounds slow to me, but I don't know what their weight and configuration was.
Yeah, 1,600 to the final.
Southwest 425, you plan to go around?
So tower pimps them. Hey,
Yeah,
we're going around.
We have to go southwest 425.
And then they start their
425, Roger, cancel post clearance. Go around runway 10 for now. You can fly runway heading and climb and maintain 1,600. 1,600. We're going around southwest 425. So it's 425. Fly your present heading and climb and maintain 3,000. Maintain 3,000. That was 425. So it was 425. You can contact departure 119er point manor. 99. That was 425.
This is on the go.
Tampa, thanks. And reason for the go around? We want to pick up the airport there for a little bit, and when we get it, it's too late.
I don't know what that means. We didn't pick up the airport, and then we were there for a little bit, and we got too low.
At Zexy, which is the final approach fix.
Yeah. They didn't just get a little bit too low.
No.
And so this is why I'm confused about this entire thing. We can, we'll kill it now. So my initial thought was, hey, this is a wind shear event. Obviously they were doing a wind shear escape maneuver, which big deal in airliner, they're busy or whatever. But then on the go, they make no mention of it. Just say, hey, we got a little low, which then I go back to, okay, well then something else happened. What was that? I don't know.
Yeah, normally, I mean, if you have a wind shear event, you're going to report it to help.
Correct.
The other planes behind you.
You give a 20-minute PIREP just like your company traffic just did. Yeah, this is the one, and you're breathing hard and you're going, okay, okay.
Yeah.
Because the things, I mean, in a 7.3, well, I don't know. So this is something I found out recently. Southwest did not pay for all the options, which is just boggles my mind. I don't know about the Airbus. In the 7.3 that I flew and now the 7.8, the ground proximity warning system gives you oral alerts as you descend, right? It gives you 2,500 is the first one it gives you. Then it gives you 1,000. And for us at our company, that's the first time you say stable, unstable, because it just, it depends on if you're VMC, IMC. And then 500 it'll tell you 500 again. And then some companies, it'll be like 100 above, or it'll say minimums. And then it'll go 50, 40, 30, 20, 10, whatever. They don't have that. They don't have the 2,500, the 1,000, and the 500, to my understanding. I could be wrong. Somebody in the chat, let me know. But I asked this on Twitter, yesterday, and people were like, no, they didn't do that. So you're explicitly, you have to have the pilot monitoring tell you when you get to those points, or they're calling it out. Obviously, you're looking at it if you're flying the airplane, but you don't have that backup. So to me, the first clue bird at the final approach fix, in a company aircraft that I've flown would have been, well, I got 1,000-foot enunciation and I'm supposed to be saying stable, and I'm at the final approach fix. Something's wrong. So now I don't know where I'm at or whatever. I don't know how you get 1,000 feet low, because you're approaching minimums at this point, right? Gonky, do you have the approach plate pulled up? What's the minimums at for the MDA? So you do or add 50, right?
Yeah,
you guys do
46.
The DDA
46.
486.
Yeah.
So 536. So they were below the DDA, derived decision altitude, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what happened. That's it.
Yeah, man. Well, hey, thankfully, once again,
true
low altitude alert warning system that ATC has to, double check pilots' works, and good on that controller for, saying, hey, low altitude alert. And I'm sure all three of us can agree. We've been behind an airplane before, heads down, and maybe, just a couple of knots slower than we're actually going. So, I mean, I'm not saying these guys lost SA, but something happened to take, to take their mind off of, where the airplane actually was. But I didn't know that, man, about the 7.3 with the equipment that it has as far as altitude warnings. That stuff, I mean, the Airbus has it. It's pretty nice because it yells at you and you like, oh yeah.
I can't believe it's optional. I'm very surprised it's an option.
Same, especially in commercial jet airplanes. Like some of that stuff should be like, no, this is like Mando,
Well, and part of that too is probably because of their insistence on a common type rating. Southwest is all about saving money. So all the type ratings had to match and all that stuff
Right.
as they went to the next generation. So that's what happens when you save money. As for this, I don't know what happened here. I mean, it's a trend now. Sorry, go ahead.
Didn't he say we didn't identify the airfield and got a little bit low?
Yeah, we didn't see the airfield and we got a little bit low. So he thought I think they thought they were at a different place than they were.
So trying to like duck under
that they thought was the threshold and it wasn't. Started
aiming
at it.
And that's, one of the viewers says they didn't build the box correctly for the RNAV, started down when they should. They got lucky again. That's absolutely. I mean, Mace, you made the best decision ever because airliners
1000%.
They make the easiest flying hard. Yes. And this is what I always complain about. Like we make the stupidest things. You're like, okay, dude, I'm going to like landing a plane, right? You fly fighters for your entire career. You're like, okay, it's easy, put the thing on the thing, flare, pitch power, all that stuff. And then you come here and it's like, okay, I got to say this. I got to say that. They give me an acronym for this. 6 right is your friend. I've got to do the LV safe, every time I build the approach because there's so much complicate. I've got 45 flap settings on a 737 that I've got to get through before I'm configured. When it's 2024, the jet could know what flap setting it needs. I could just tell it. Like I could be like, hey, I'm doing flaps 30. Okay, well, slow down. There's your flaps. We don't need that. Just like the Mighty Viper would do.
It's pretty shocking, Mace, how complicated a simple runway change.
Oh, dude, great.
Like runway change, like no. Dude,
I'm not sure if I should feel good because I'm not in that life, or I should feel bad because I'm about to get on a commercial airplane tomorrow as a passenger.
Well, and now you know why we drive.
Correct.
Well, I mean, so in the defense of the airline world, it's job security because now there's 2. So, but you spent your entire career doing it solo. You come to this world and you're like, why? Some of it just reminds you of like, remember the old shot valves at Nellis, and then the weapons school nerds would be like, you didn't say it right. Pod 6 shooting pod 8. And they're like, no,
you're dead
targeting. Yeah.
We're auto killing you.
Yeah. It's that. It's like, well, you didn't say the right call out at this point. It's not breaks off, it's auto breaks off. And it's like, well, how many different breaks are there that could be off? And they're like, well, the new book, we just changed it last week. You're like, God. Yeah, it's that kind of stuff. But so they do make it a little bit more challenging. I don't think that that's what happened here, but I do question the feds were way up United's training program for a lot less. And now Southwest has had now the LaGuardia, the Oak City, the Hawaii, and now this that has made the news. That's a trend. Like that's not just
recently. I mean, very recently.
That's this year. Yeah. It's all within the last, 3 months. So I'm just curious, what's going on? Is it a training issue? Is it a equipment issue? Is it a complacency issue? Is it just it's in the news more because it's their turn or what?
Well, there's all people like backgrounds like us flying there, right? So it's not like they have, crappy pilots or whatever, but something.
We are not the greatest, Gonky. And that's why I always say
I'm definitely not the greatest.
But by the grace of God go I, because this could be any of us. It's not that we're immune. It's just it's not our turn yet.
No. But all I'm saying is, I have a lot of friends that are there that I know were good pilots in the Navy, like when I flew with them and stuff. So like I'm like, what's going on?
Yeah. I don't know.
I was gonna say, I'm sure you could look at Google Earth and see what other things are in that area, but there's someone in the comments talking about it. That there's a bridge.
Campbell Causeway.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
You say that, but having done the airline, Gonky, I don't know. Do you guys back up your approach? So they're in the weather. They're in the weather, so they're flying an RNAV. Dude, when I flew the 7.3, now I've got a HUD, so it's way better. But when I flew the 7.3, I was a child of the magenta. Like
I would
up until the flare, I'm just like outside, inside, outside, inside. Like because the easiest way to fly that thing is just to keep it centered, and it'll build the approach all the way to the end of the runway. So it's not like all of a sudden your guidance is gone and you're figuring it out on your own. In fact, you can leave the autopilot on. You know, leave the autopilot on, you break out, you're like, oh, there's a runway, click, click. And I still fly to Magenta.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Turn off the autopilot, but still keep it.
Yeah. I'm not going to start making up my own approach. I mean, as long as it makes sense.
Mace, it's like if I don't have this, I don't know where to go. You know what I'm saying? Like, we'll put that back. You know, sometimes we do turn that off for a true visual approach. I'm like, I don't like that.
Well, and so Gonky, that is a good point. You know, in the sim, my training I just did, one of the things they had us do was because, you know, we go to international places and sometimes, you know, you got the Q&H, you know, so you got the millibars versus all the different, the different ways that they present it internationally. And they talked about if the conversion's wrong or if you did it wrong, they had us do the approach and they had us go fly into Seattle and they had the altimeter off by a significant amount. And dude, you're coming in scraping over the lights and the thing is perfect. I mean, it's perfectly lined up just because you had the altimeter wrong, because you know where the jet thought it was based on where you actually were. So, I mean, it could be something like that. Could be, you know, I don't know. I mean, it's just there's been a lot of incidents, and I hate that it's so many of them.
Thankfully, though, nobody got hurt. I mean,
100%.
That's the big thing, man. I mean.
And they diverted safely to Fort Lauderdale. So
whatever it is, hopefully, you know, we find out what it is and learn from it, right? That's kind of the name of the game in aviation. I can't make all the mistakes myself, so please help me.
Right. We can't be the only ones terrible at this.
No.
All right, Mace. I promise that was the last fatty talk of the night. We will not talk about airliners. You can get back with us.
I'm A-list preferred on Southwest. I'm like, shit.
You could maybe cash those in.
Preferred.
I'm flying to Hawaii on Southwest in 2 weeks for vacation.
Why would you do that?
Because it's a direct flight to Kauai.
I want to watch Vegas. A couple episodes ago. We covered a Hawaii flight out.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. I've seen that one. That one was on the news. I got.
There's not enough money in the world to make me fly on a 737 to Hawaii. I don't care how direct it is.
It won't be that.
There's not
5.5 hours.
Nope. Not enough. Like you couldn't pay.
That's like saying, Sears School won't be that bad. I mean, they're good guys.
Yeah. They're trying to teach me. They're just there to teach
I'll
me.
report back.
Yeah. They don't have a vendetta. They have a no.
They're
not really like their jobs. Yeah. Cool.
You have a great time, Mace.
Yeah.
A direct flight is so nice. I don't want to hop through a bunch of places to get there. Just let's go.
Gonky and I would take a boat.
I would take a boat. I really would. 100%. Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. Anyway, hey, in the news, like recently, they're putting this out there. First female aviator kill, and it's like it's a growler kill, right? No, this wasn't that one. I'm getting confused. The growler had a kill.
Yeah.
The growler had a kill.
Mm-hmm.
But now the Super Hornet has a drone kill. So an F-18F Super Hornet. So that's the family model, right, Gonky?
Correct, sir. Yes.
Okay.
F-A-32.
First female aviator to shoot down an enemy aerial threat. There's a lot of words here. Female naval aviator from Strike Fighter Squadron 3-2 shot down a Houthi drone during a recently concluded deployment in the sea. They went and shot down a ton of drones. They employed 20 air-to-air missiles against Houthi one-way attack drones, which targeted civilian merchant vessels in the sea. They had there in one of them, the VFA-32 became the home to the first female pilot to engage and kill an air-to-air contact. They also shot, does it say? Oh, there's the Growler. The Growler was out there too.
Right, they got the Hind, right? The helicopter.
Yeah, I got the Hind. Yeah. 120 precision-guided air-to-surface munitions there to protect the freedom of navigation. Dude, Chowda Hill, by the way, just as an aside, is like the greatest. Like, is he like the boat skipper or something? His social media is amazing. He's always talking about how awesome his people are. He is a case study in leadership, and I believe everybody should go follow him and try to emulate him. So they go on to talk about Rosemary Mariner, who passed away in 2019, was the first woman to fly tactical jets in 1974. And then in 2020, J.G. Madeline Swegel, first ever female African-American tactical jet pilot. And then Stalin Lee recently, who was actually in the end of that IMAX movie, was
First
hired
Blue
as the first Blue Angel.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, then there's also other female pilots of the Soviets. They had female aces as well. Soviet Air Force for air-to-air kills. So, Mace, how do you feel about this?
My dad actually sent me an article about this. That's how I first heard about it. And I just responded with clapping hands. And then I knew that people on the internet were going to say that somehow it's not, you can't say an air-to-air kill because there's no one in it because it's a drone. I was like, someone's going to quantify this to like make it less.
Gonky, were you in the comments of her Instagram bullying her again, Gonky?
No,
I have not posted about it, but no, I think it's great. I would imagine this female aviator probably does not want this attention because you don't want that when you're especially in a deployed environment.
Well, they didn't name her, so that's I mean, I guess everybody knows who it is.
Everyone in her unit knows, though, right? So she's probably getting all kinds of crap for it. Yeah, I mean, she's doing her job, but I appreciate things like this being discussed because I think it does impact how young women considering joining the military view their options. So it's like that's awesome. She's doing the mission. I'm sure she's super happy to be doing the mission, as we all are when we're deployed. And I'm sure she's probably not super happy to get this extra attention in that environment. But I also see like why it's highlighted in the media. So
I'm surprised that she's the first. Like, it's 2024.
Well,
we don't have a lot of air-to-air.
Yeah,
I know. It's just crazy. Well, I mean, dude, our time in Iraq, we were doing that. We were shooting down drones in 2009. You know, that was a thing. They were strafing them, but it's awesome.
Nice. Oh, that sounds fun.
Yeah. I didn't get to. I was air sovereignty alert. I should have been, but they just took an airborne flight and they just said, there you go. And it's as close as I got. Very sad. Yeah, no, I mean, I'm just surprised it's taken this long. So it's good that here we are finally. Do you get, so when other air-to-air kills, if you have an air-to-air kill, you get a missing man formation at your funeral. I wonder if that counts for this.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That's the criteria for a missing man formation?
I didn't know that.
An aerial victory.
Huh.
I didn't know that.
Yep.
Interesting.
I don't know, man. I did a funeral for a Admiral who had 5 kills, and we didn't do a missing man.
Really?
No, it was
5 kills? He was an ace?
No. He was the only he's the only fighter pilot in World War II with 5 kills who wasn't an ace, because the first jet, the first plane he shot down, he was at Pearl Harbor, and he shot down a Japanese attacking aircraft with a Browning assault rifle from the ground.
And that didn't count?
No, because he wasn't in an airplane. So he had 5 kills. 4 of them were air to air, him and a fighter. And then the one was with the BAR, Admiral Jackson. I think it was an honor to be in his funeral. But no, it was just me and Shady section of Hornets. We did a flyby with a hook down, and over the funeral. That was it. But maybe in the Air Force you do. I don't know.
There's like super strict criteria on missing man formations. There's a whole reg on it, right?
Yeah.
Did you guys do those, Mace, as Thunderbirds? Did you guys do any of that kind of stuff?
Not usually. We did. There was a couple that happened while I was on the team.
For high vis people.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember who we did one for, but I remember it was a deal because they're like, oh, we got to look at this reg, and like it doesn't meet the criteria, but not usually. We don't normally do funeral flyovers in general,
right? Because you're more demonstration.
Yeah, and usually we're just busy. Like we're busy. Yeah. We're already fragged out for 70 air shows in 9 months.
Can you just squeeze in a couple more events here?
You fly across the country and fly over this funeral. Yeah. I mean, there are definitely ones that we wanted to do.
Yeah. No, I mean, but mover, like, this kind of stuff.
Found it. So the criteria Active duty are currently serving in the Air Reserve component. Officers rated blah, blah, blah. Active duty are currently serving non-rated officers, aviators, operations support flyers. There's a whole thing. Dignitaries, active duty, 3 and 4-star generals, regardless of rank. Active duty retired chief master sergeants, Air Force members who have been awarded the Medal of Honor, Air Force Cross, Army Distinguished Service Cross, or Navy Cross. Air Force aviators who have achieved at least one or more officially recognized aerial victories. The Air Force Historical Research Agency is the official source for aerial victories. So it would have to be an official source. Because remember, and the reason I know that is because we interviewed Shanghai, who has an aerial victory. And when I told T-Bear about it, he's like, yeah, he can get a missing man formation at his funeral. I'm like, how do you know that, T-Bear? He's like, yeah, that's yeah, of course, T-Bear knows everything. But that's it. So I'm curious if that's going to count towards a, but Shanghai shot down a helicopter, with an A-10, which is badass.
Yeah, the helicopter was flying, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? I mean,
he shot it down.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
That's what happens when you shoot something down, it stops flying.
Yeah.
What if it's hovering?
What?
What if it's hovering?
Still a shoot down. It's
what
flying.
If it's like taxiing? You know how they taxi hover like right above the.
I think flying is flying. Ground effect is ground effect. I don't think we have to distinguish between if it's under its own power and above the ground and not touching anything. Flying.
That's the threshold. Okay, just
flying.
Just checking.
Yeah.
I mean, stories like having been on deployment stuff, and especially the Ike, they've been obviously working their tail off out there with all kinds of crazy stuff happening. I think stories like this is also good PR for morale, for everybody at VFA 32, right? All the maintainers and stuff like that. I mean, dude, when you're on a ship, you're kind of it's your own little world. And for the maintainers, especially, like as pilots, we got to leave the ship sort of, right? But it really gets like Groundhog Day out there. And, stuff like this, I think it does help with morale, and it helps with, the mindset of why they're out there. Right. So, they get to see, the orties that loaded the weapons on the airplanes. They actually get to say it came back without an AIM-9. Holy cow. Yeah. I helped in her getting a kill. Right. So I think a lot of that is good too. But Mace, I think you nailed. I don't think any of us would ever want spotlight on us for just doing our job. You know what I'm saying? Because the mindset is, you pick any fighter pilot and just Rochambeau us through there. We all could have pulled the trigger, right? Right, kind of thing. So, but I don't know. I think it's cool, man. I mean, it's good PR, man.
Yeah.
Hi, Mover. You're muted.
Sorry. I was busy. Paint it on the side and go to town.
That's right.
I think they showed a picture of her, or at least I don't know if it was of her or if it was like they found
a random girl.
Yeah. And said, this is her. I mean,
was it an AI generated female fighter pilot?
She had 2 arms, but she had 3 legs. What does that mean? Yeah.
6 fingers is the giveaway generally.
It's on Facebook where it's always like, today's my birthday. I just want to wish. And you're like, engagement farming. And then it's like none of it matches. Like the airplane has like a Soviet star, and then they're American. Like there's all kind of stuff wrong with it. Right.
And all the people in the comments think it's real life.
Oh, and they want to wish you a happy birthday.
It's amazing.
Happy birthday. And that's how it works. That's how they get all the followers. Aaron says, Mace, do you know if the T-Birds ever consider doing this is what happens when I read straight from the teleprompter. If it's still up there, I'm reading it. Thank you for that. Finally catching an episode live. Love you guys. Yosarian, I lives tech. This is back to the Southwest thing. Not surprising, Southwest doesn't pay for the options. After all, they were not affected by the CrowdStrike outage because their servers are from the 90s. Uh-oh. Is there a ghost in your room, Mace? Are you okay?
No, it's storming here. It's monsoon
season. Just checked
season.
6.
Like in Vegas?
Yeah, it just started like a week ago. So it's like very windy and thundering out.
Wow, in Vegas? That's dangerous. Didn't they have floods a couple years ago where it was like...
was floods when it rained super hard.
Patrick says Mover and Gonky hitching a ride to Pearl Harbor doing the show from a carrier. Yeah. Thomas says Mace on a commercial flight here and good afternoon. I'm Gonky and this is Mover. We'll be your pilots today. Holy shit, it's Mover and Gonky.
Yeah, just get off.
Not on the 7-3, you won't.
Get off that bad boy. Yeah.
John says if balloons count as kills for the Air Force, F-22s, drones count for Navy. I would argue drones count more.
Yeah, so do I.
Yeah.
But I mean, whatever.
Elias. It's 2024 Navy. She probably has 2 GoPro angles of the kill, and her manuscript is ready with a publisher.
Yeah. Well, hey, we'll get to read about it and see it. Cool.
Yeah. And there I was.
Yeah. Thanks.
Dibs on a signed copy.
Yeah. My Wizzo had the drone locked in the targeting pod. Janitor is back, says, how big are these drones compared to the ones that the Blues flew under? Much bigger. Aren't they like the Shaheed or whatever? They're like bigger, big drones. Colton says, question for Mace. What years are the Thunderbird F-16s? Also, will the F-35 be the replacement? I assume. I'd like to vote on it before they change it.
So many questions.
All right.
I think they have some early 2000s, late 90s. I'd have to go back and look.
Oh, wow. Must be nice.
I feel like, I'm block 50.
Yeah. Why does that seem new to me? Because I'm old?
Because that is old. That's new compared to what we flew. I mean,
right, like early 90 tails.
What? You flew early 90? Carswell and Homestead were the 86 to 88 variants.
There's like 91s, 92s. Maybe that was MSL.
That had to be MSL.
They all
Block
run
30s,
together.
Block 30s are the 80s. That's when everything was still cool.
It's true. That's
Viper.
true. F-35, we'll see what happens. I don't have any inside scoop on what will replace the Viper for the Thunderbirds. I'm just imagining how expensive the squadron would be to run. Like that seems kind of unrealistic.
They would need a new vault. Have build a whole new building and everything for them.
Yeah. Also, all the people. Like, what about all the media stuff? That the team is a media, not pawn. That's not the right word. It is a media arm of the military, right? So I feel like you have to be able to put people in back seats.
T7. Mace, they're going back. Just like the 38 was, it's going to be the Jayhawk.
I think the Viper's going to stick around for a while.
I think they're going to make it the C-17.
So, dude, a whole...
Yes. With rockets.
It's just 2 of them, but it's 20 people. It's 2 C-17s, but actually 20 people.
Yeah, twice the engines.
Yeah.
I wanted to see if my tail flash had a year on it, but no.
Justin says, I've long wanted to become a military pilot, but after dealing with endless government BS and red tape as enlisted, I find myself less and less enthusiastic to become a pilot and officer. Thoughts?
Well, you're looking at 3 quitters. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. Biased.
We're a little...
Look, here's my standard spiel on this. The first 10 years are awesome.
Yep.
And then that's it.
Period. And the end.
Yeah. And the first 10 years were awesome for us. I don't know about now.
I don't either.
But back when we were flying, 20 plus sorties a month and 1,000 hours in 3 years and, all that good stuff, life was good. Now,
who knows?
I don't know. But you do your first commitment, and then you make a decision. Just like everything else, you Jake and assess.
Yeah. That first commitment's fairly long.
It is. Yeah.
But you only live once. Right?
That's valid.
True.
And
again, that first commitment is very long.
Yeah. Sometimes it goes really fast, and then sometimes you're like,
yeah, it depends on where you're at in life too. I mean, I started like right away when I was out of college, and if there's no way I could do it now. If I was married or had family and stuff, like at no point in my life would I be able to do it. But there are people that do. So
when I went through UPT, the oldest guy that we called an old man was like 28.
Yeah.
And I was 23.
Yeah. Wild.
You can put up with a lot of crap at 23.
100%. Especially if you're single.
30 or 35. There's just I would not be able. I couldn't get through one day of stand up. I'd be like, You'd be like, sit down. I'd be like, hold on a second.
Right, exactly.
What do you mean sit down?
Yeah.
That was right.
Yeah.
You know, what are you talking about, kid? You know, because the Fape's probably younger than you or whatever. And we'd be fisticuffs in the.
Yeah. Should be a sir in front of that before you tell me to sit down.
Yeah.
I think about the prior enlisted guys that would that were like operators, and then they would get out and then they'd be like, I'm going to go back in commission. And they would be like in ROTC. Like,
right.
Can you imagine?
I did. I had in my OTS class, I had somebody that was on the protective detail for the chief of staff. No, the Secretary of the Air Force. No. Mosley. What was Mosley?
General Mosley, was he?
He was the chief of staff of the Air Force.
Staff? Yeah.
Yeah, he was the chief of staff. So she was OSI on his protective detail. And I'm like, why are you here? Because he was like a E8 or something, you know?
Yeah.
Like, oh, yeah. It's the same job. I'm going to go back to protective detail. Now I'll just be a second lieutenant. Like, what?
Dude, in the class behind me at OCS, we had a Navy SEAL. And I'm like, what are you doing?
Did he have a flight doc girlfriend too?
No, but I mean, it's like Mace is saying. I mean, the guy went through he's trained.
Yeah.
And now he's back at OCS when we're playing reindeer games with Marine drill instructors, right? It's like, come on.
On the flip side, though, if you do have such life experience, you know what's important and what's not. Versus at 23, you don't know anything and everything is a helmet fire.
True. You'd be able to manage the stress better because you'd be like, okay, this doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, there's that. Like it's like being in the union and knowing your contract. You know, what are you gonna say? What are you gonna do?
If it's a dream of yours and you want to fly and your family's behind it, do it.
Otherwise, become independently wealthy and buy your own jet.
That's right. Still working on that.
Yeah. AADFW AMT says old B-52 for the Thunderbird. Too soon.
True.
It's too soon. We can't do B-52 demos. Modman says, Mace, speaking of stress, what's more stressful, flying in the Thunderbirds or being constantly reminded that you're a woman fighter pilot in interviews when in actuality you're just a fighter pilot?
Flying in the Thunderbirds. I never was reminded because I always knew. That wasn't in question.
I love it.
My view on that evolved with my assignment with the Thunderbirds because there actually is like a reason to talk about that with that squadron in a gray unit. Don't care. When you're in a public affairs unit, essentially, do care. That's what I have to say about that.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? Some things happen. Mark says, hootie, y'all.
Mark, how you doing, man?
Hootie to you as well. All right, moving on. Gonky, you wrote this one. Is this Su-34 versus the Hornet?
Did I write this one?
No, you did.
Is this old video?
So is this old?
Yeah, because the oh gosh, who's escorting these?
It's the Finnish.
No, dude, they're rhinos.
Are they?
I don't know.
Hold on. Sure it is. CAG bird of VFA 32. The swordsman.
Yeah.
Not sure when it was shot. Well, this is from July 21st is when I saw it. So,
I mean, it's cool footage.
Well, it's like their view of us.
Right. That's what I'm saying. It's cool footage.
Yeah.
Yep. That's enough.
The Hornets,
Swordsman
Su-34, filming a Su-34. He's fairly unarmed, so.
Yeah, they got 9X, maybe an AMRAAM, one tank. That's actually a cool video, man.
The whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, dude, the Su-34 is more of a bomber.
Yeah,
I mean, it's even more strike mud henny than a strike eagle mud hen, you know. So there's, you know, as far as fighting, there wouldn't be much of a fight.
Yeah, well,
Cool video though. I'd love that. Would be awesome, man. If like I want to see the pictures the Super Hornet crews got from their vantage point. That'd be cool.
Did they get? I mean, what would you carry? Would you carry a camera?
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
Right.
I mean, they were probably working on their cruise video when they got real world tasking. You know, hey, we got some C-34s coming out. Yeah. I don't know.
All right. Well, we could talk about something more interesting because that sounds boring. Hogs escorting subs.
That sounds epic.
I mean,
yeah.
Dude, why do you even need a Navy if you got A-10s?
Dude, I tell you, I read through this article and I was like, man, that's actually a brilliant mission for the A-10 is just planking boats out of the water. I mean,
according to the Aviationist, A-10 Warthogs escort ballistic missile submarine USS Wyoming for the second time. Second time. It's not even the first time, Gonky. It's the second time. They escorted an Ohio-class nuclear submarine and also took part in a live-fire exercise. So they shot the gun and rockets. What a glorious day that would be.
Yes.
According to Subgroup 10, they were from Moody. They escorted the USS Wyoming on July 15th. They conducted a live-fire exercise with the Coast Guard, Maritime Force Protection Unit, Kings Bay, USNS Black Powder. USNS Westwind also participated in the escort of the submarine. Joint operations involved the Air Force, Coast Guard, and Navy. Ensure military is ready. And then there's the 4-ship of Hogs. And yeah, earlier this year, they did this with the USS Nebraska in the Strait of San Juan de Fuca. And they escorted. They also had P3 engaged together a patrol boat. So basically, they're out there looking for patrol boats, right?
Yeah.
Patrol boats and any kind of surface ships.
Top
unmanned boats. So they're basically doing CAS for a submarine.
This is so awesome.
Yeah.
Is that not the coolest thing ever?
Sign me up for that mission.
That would be that would be awesome. I mean,
no terrain to worry about.
You know, honestly, like I could totally see that being an A-10 mission, like in the Gulf, because you know, all the time when we were like overhead the ship holding, I mean, there's all kinds of small boats, you know, around, and they're listening and following and snooping, but like, you know, with I don't know, pirates and Houthis with boats and stuff, I think the A-10 could be like literally the Persian Gulf like cop, you know, out there. It's like, dude, you get out of line, straight to the bottom.
The problem is where you launch them from.
Doesn't matter. Loiter time, man. They can refuel. I mean,
yeah, but you still have to go somewhere.
Well, launch them out of I don't know, Bahrain.
I mean, I guess it's no different than the COD. I mean, the COD goes other places, right?
Yeah, the COD. Yeah, it doesn't stay on the boat.
Just need tanker support and maintainers. Well, you need maintainers to arm them up.
Yes, that would be. I mean, I'd love to just cruise the Persian Gulf in an A-10. Just let me know if anybody's causing any trouble.
Yeah, call us if you need us.
Call us if you need. It would be a deterrent, 100%.
Well, I mean, look at the stuff in Yemen. You know, I mean, the Houthi pirates and stuff. Look how many kills you'd get with your A-10.
Right.
Just thinking about like if you get like a pirate killer T-shirt or something. I feel like there would be like some special title you get when you start racking up pirate kills.
That's right. When you start sinking ships,
you'd have to steal the old Fate Mafia pirate flag. Just cross out the FAPE and just
like the Davy Jones to put that on the side of the airplane.
Yeah.
Davy Jones.
Badass.
You could paint it like the old Tomcat. Remember the Tomcat with the pirate flags on it?
Oh, dude, you're talking about a specific squadron, the Jolly Rogers.
Yeah, well, you just copy and paste that on your A-10.
Crossbones, yeah. No, see, dude, the A-10, it's got more than it's more than a one-trick pony, man.
Call Skid. Let's see what Skid has to say about this.
Dude, right now, you know, Skid is like he's jumping up and down because that's what Skid does. You talk about the A-10. Yeah,
that's awesome.
I'm
all on board with that. Also, Gonky, I I don't know. You're going to tell me if we've already watched this video. Have you seen this?
I tried to watch it, man. I couldn't watch
cool.
it.
All right. Here we go. So
what did they get?
It's some little ultra light side by side. I don't know. I thought it was a helicopter, but then when I made the screen larger, I'm like, no, that's not a helicopter. Like that's a fixed wing. Yeah, that's a high wing. The drone's almost as big as they are.
Oh yeah, look at that. Oh, not to overshoot.
But you don't care when you got a dude shooting. They missed. Is this training? I guess nothing's training in Ukraine right now.
I just feel like we've gone full circle in aerial warfare now.
Yeah.
You know? Like, isn't this how dogfighting started? You know, first they were waving at one another, and then they started bringing rifles. Right?
But does that look fun?
It does look fun.
Like you and your buddy?
Yeah. This reminds me of, like, you know how in Texas you can go like hog hunting?
Yep.
Yes.
Dude, this is even better than hog hunting in Texas.
Well, Gonky, that's a good point. All they need is a bunch of R-44s, and they could put guys off either side.
Dude, yes.
With ARs.
You could monetize it, sell tickets, man. Like half the state of Texas would probably go over there.
I was going to say, there's some people with experience that would sign up for this.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you used to be able to go to like Africa and kill poachers, right? That used to be a thing. You used to be able to go, they monetize that. They're like, hey, you want to sign up and go kill some poachers? You know, and here you go. Drones.
I thought it was big game, but poachers, big game, whatever.
I think there's both. I think there's the big game, but then like later on, they're like, hey, if you want to be a hunter of men, poachers, because they don't like poachers, which I don't either. Poachers are bad. We don't like those.
I'd like to shoot down a drone though from an airplane with a rifle.
To get back on topic, yes.
I'd need more of a shotgun. I think a rifle, we'd be up there for a while. I would need quite a bit of ammunition. Probably.
What about the people on the ground, Gonky?
I'd rather some just harmless BBs rain down on them, other than like a 30-06 coming at them at 3,000 feet per second or whatever it is.
Aim downward.
Correct. Exactly. Having gravity help it. So
but if they were really, thinking technologically, they would have those drone guns that disable the drones and then capture the drone and then use it for their own purposes.
I guess. I mean, these drones look pretty low tech though. You know, it's not like
every little bit counts, Gonky. We're sending them so much money that, they can more efficiently use it.
You know what? That's great. Capturing is great. I'd rather try to shoot it and blow it up, but that's just me.
It didn't blow up though.
They could have just thrown a grenade out the window.
Now you're talking. Grenade launcher.
You want to talk about the poor people on the ground? Oh my God! Stop missing.
Why is the kill count going up so high?
Yeah,
it's just Gonky and his ultralight trying to shoot down the drones.
Yeah, I just, yeah, I don't know.
Easy, you just don't lead them as much. Geez, Gonky.
Part of me think, I mean, wouldn't a helicopter be a better platform?
It depends on the altitude and the type. Yeah.
I mean, with what we saw here, I mean,
yeah,
because you could fly slow and, you wouldn't overshoot. You could stable.
I mean, a STOL aircraft like this, you could probably fly slow enough that you wouldn't overshoot either. He wasn't trying. That was to get, his gunner line of sight to it. I mean, you don't really care if you overshoot because it's not going to shoot you.
I know, but just my fighter pilot mind, I don't like to overshoot. I don't like to feel defensive.
Well, if you think about, like customs and stuff, they got Blackhawks, and that's what they, intercept homeland wise is they take the customs Blackhawks and they'll put a guy with a rifle and, well, hey, if you don't do what they say. So it's the same concept as that. I mean, it already exists. I'm just surprised they found it. Like, to me, this is needle in a haystack stuff because these things are so small to see them and all that stuff.
Well, that's just it. Like, how does that, I don't know, does air defense radar pick it up and they call the local Cessna squadron like, hey, go get your rifle, scramble, your vector is this way, Godspeed. I mean, like you said, how do you logistically, how do you make that intercept happen?
Yeah.
Or does like every farmer in Ukraine have a ultralight and a rifle? I don't know.
That's a good idea.
Not a bad idea.
Yeah, it's a good idea. All right, Gonky, we got some questions from the audience. Then we'll get to the mover
health minute.
The mover health minute.
Therapy for mover.
Mover needs mental health more than anybody. Mark says, howdy, y'all.
Howdy,
Mark. Matt says, Mace, how did the Thunderbird lead manage ATC calls and the radar while making all the sing-song calls to the formation? Also, do Thunderbirds run all systems such as raw during the performances? I could just
buddy spiked.
There's a lot happening for number one in the jet, like coming into land at an airport, but during an air show there are no ATC calls happening. Like there's no one on the radio. Like we have sanitized airspace. No one else is on the radio except for our Thunderbird people on the ground, like number 8, the narrator, number 7, the DO. But coming into a show site, it can be super overwhelming if ATC is long-winded or they're not used to working with fast movers. And so they get behind. And there can be, some random airfield where there's a flight school as well. And so there's students in their Cessnas trying to come in to the pattern. And we're trying to, come in overhead as a 6 ship and pitch up. So we have had to spin the Delta in a 360 to create more time for ourselves when we can't get the comm out. And that's very task saturating for everyone on the wing to be at low altitude in an unfamiliar airfield, 5 miles from the field, having to take, we're staying in close formation for that, doing an entire 360 at 500 feet off the ground. It's a high stress time, I would say. And then the jets are stripped down from all that tactical stuff. So we're not running any of those kind of sensors, less things to break, less things to maintain, less things to distract us.
Does it still have the gun, Mace? Or do they take it out?
Gun's taken out. That's where the smoke oil goes.
Okay.
Oh. Mace, so are you monitoring on Pry and then talking on Aux? Or do you turn off Pry so you're not hearing all the extraneous ATC comm so you can focus?
We'll split the volumes. So for the wingman, you're going to have Aux turned up more so you can hear the boss over the ATC channel. But it can very much be a helmet fire when you're the boss will just talk to you even while ATC's talking. So he's, trying to listen to what they're saying to him while he's trying to maneuver the formation. It's challenging.
Do you use your flight dock in a tactical manner like the Blue Angels?
Our flight dock when I was on the team was 6'5" redhead male.
So pants.
Perfect.
I'm just asking, as a safety observer, like the Blue Angels do, standing there and saying, "Hey, don't hit each other." What do y'all have that?
On the range, our support officers will go out and run practices as safety observers. Yes.
Not the flight dock.
Occasionally the flight dock, not usually.
With or without yoga pants.
I don't think I ever saw him in yoga pants.
Equal opportunity, Gonky. Don't laugh at these things. These are real questions.
I'm laughing.
I watched a documentary about it. Janitor's back says 2024 mover would tell 23-year-old mover to watch out for cows.
Valid.
Yeah. Then what would my call sign be? I'd have some dumb call signs, even worse than this one. Elias, or God, I hope I'm getting that right. Speaking of independently wealthy, highly recommend that you guys get Wiz Buckley on the show.
Well, we're trying to get people on the show.
We don't know these people.
Correct. They're not in my phone yet.
It's not like this small circle that everybody knows everybody. T-Goat 5. See, I can say that. That's easier to say. What type of formation group would the Thunderbirds fly during cross countries?
Wow. The 4 diamond jets up front and the 2 solos in trail. And if it's VFR, we would spread out. So we would fly like a mile between each jet, and the trail element, we'd be like a mile and a half in trail. So you can eat the snacks, so you can focus on peeing, like we talked about earlier. But if you're in the weather, 1 through 4 are flying close off of the boss. So like what you see during a show without the 2 outriggers, we would lock up in the trail formation using our radar. Like me as a lead solo, I would have a lock on the front formation, and then number 6 would be flying fingertip off of me. Being in the weather going cross country sucks.
Yeah.
Mace, what did the Thunderbirds use as their Fat Albert?
So we don't have a dedicated airplane like the Blues do. So we just get it from Big Air Force as available, usually a C-17.
So it could be just different crew every show.
Time. Yeah. Occasionally there'd be someone that's worked with us before. And then sometimes if the C-17s weren't available, we would get 2 C-130s, and our poor crew that had to ride in the back of a C-130, especially if it was like a Florida show coming from Vegas. Yeah.
Karma mover. Karma.
Dude, I got bit last week, so I've already got my dose of karma.
You're about to get some more. You keep flashing the old.
Look, I'm just trying to keep it lively. Griff says, Mace, do you ever take your family with you for events like your NATO trip? Also, where can we buy the books? Thanks for your service. That's a good question.
Oh, thank you. Not for the NATO one. That was one-off kind of, and we had like 15-hour days scheduled, and you couldn't bring anyone with you because we had to like send all our passport info, all our stuff in advance for getting clearance in there. My husband works just as much as I do, so he doesn't really go on trips with me generally, but I do have a speaking event in Cancun. Turns out he wants to come on that one all of a sudden. Weird. Books are on Amazon. If you search my name, you'll find them, or you can order them off of the publisher, which is Endgame Press. And Endgame Press right now, it's just endgamepress.com. They have a bundle going on where you get both books for $25, which is like almost half off.
Do you write as Mace or do you write as Michelle?
For what?
Well, what do they search on the book? Like, do they search Mace?
They can search either one. It's written as Michelle Mace Curran on Amazon, but if you search Michelle Curran or you search Mace Curran, it comes up. That's why I was confused.
If you just Google Mace, you might end up with a self-protection item.
Right. I think the last name is
correct. All right. Patrick says, speaking of leaders, apparently the 36th Wing Commander is doing great, boosting morale, leveraging social media. Well, that's nice to see. I heard tell of an inter-service enlisted shooting competition. He will shoot against local commanders and host a barbecue.
That sounds fun.
It does.
Yeah. Sounds like wish we had that back in my day. Holly, movie star. Mace, this year's Blue Angels homecoming includes the Thunderbirds. Do you know if the aerial shows will be separate or will both teams perform together? Are you allowed to do that?
No, they won't do a demo together. Like the amount of practice and coordination and regs that would have to be involved for that will not happen. So each team will fly their independent show, but in the past we have done a joint flyover. So they might do that, where they might do the Super Delta, which is both deltas combined into one giant delta. We did that during COVID. So there is like operating procedures written for that, and the team practices it. So you might see both at once, but not doing an actual air show.
Do y'all do like the Blue Angels and tighten it up as the season goes?
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, what's the name for that? Because the Blue Angels had some weird, cool name, but
yeah, what is theirs called?
I don't know. I just watched you watch the IMAX, Gonky. What do they call it when they go from it's like super platinum or something? It's like, oh, we're doing a super platinum show, whatever.
Super fingertip. I don't know what it is, dude.
Yeah. So
yes. So we get into stripes aligned. Ooh. And like if you, I don't know if the team is there yet or not. I have to look at some pictures from recently, but you can tell because literally the stripes on the wing are aligned. Like it's very obvious. They line up perfectly. That's as close as the team gets, but usually that is like late in the season. So what are we, July? They might be getting close to being stripes aligned.
Is that something the boss determines?
Yeah, and the second year pilots as well that are like instructing the people that are on their first year, you know, because the boss has the most situational awareness, but Yankee set. Okay.
Yankee set. And then also, Patrick, I just love this comment. You need a Thunder tanker, which brings up my question is, do you preface everything with Thunder? Like, are you wearing a Thunder suit? Do you take Thunder gloves to the jet and put your Thunder helmet on?
No.
Like, is it like is everything, you know?
No, but we do use that for everyone's dogs, the Thunder dogs.
Thunder,
like
Thunder dogs taking a Thunder dump.
I mean, I've never talked about my dogs.
Perhaps it's time
with other Thunderbirds, but maybe.
That's funny.
Thunder buddies for life. All right, so I already read that one probably. TJ says, do things like a life flight inhibit the air show if y'all are flying and they also have to fly in the airspace?
Yep, we'll stop. We'll pause the demo and hold up high to let them transit the airspace. The air boss that runs the entire air show, he is up on comms with air traffic control, and he has kind of that situational awareness outside of the TFR, the restricted airspace that we fly in. So they'll be like, yeah, life flight's inbound this many minutes out. He's literally sitting next to number 8, our narrator, and or number 7, our director of operations. And they'll wait until there's a break in comm, like so that we're on the middle of a maneuver, like during a reposition or something. And they'll like chime in, and then the boss will terminate and we'll hold high while it transits. And then we'll start back up where we left off.
Awesome. I want to pause on the comments, get through the mental health minute. I know, Mace, we always get through your dinner time, so I'm trying not to.
I know. I have to get up at 3 a.m. too for this 6 a.m. Delta flight. That's then going to get canceled, and I'm going to be pissed.
You have a lot of time to sleep in the terminal. It's fine.
Come home.
Hey, that's a great segue. Mace, you're stronger than you think.
Not get angry. It's weakness.
Oh, that's funny.
That actually
bring
is a
snacks.
Segue.
Bring lots of snacks.
Yeah. So this week's a mental health minute. Yeah. I don't know why I was thinking about this, but a lot of times in life, we think that we can't do something. We think that we don't want to fight, whether it's physically, mentally, or, career wise or whatever, because we think it's going to be tough and we think it's going to be hard to get through. Also, when something's going wrong, we think, man, I'll never get through this because, I don't see the light at the end of the tunnel. But the reality is, if you just stick with it and gut it out, you're tougher than you think. You see this in flying fighters, people that are timid, they're not aggressive, especially early on in training. They've talked to pilots in pilot training where the instructor's like, dude, you're just not aggressive enough. It's easier to throttle somebody back than it is to push them forward, because that aggression is that lack of fear in some ways. It's the, I don't care, it's not the lack of self-preservation, but it is kind of a little bit less of, hey, I'm just objective oriented. So when we think of strength, we think of being able to endure, being able to get through something. And anytime these bad things are happening, you just have to be able to sit there and go, I can get through this. I can get through anything and make it to the other side and not be timid, because when you're timid, you never accomplish what your goals are. So, I will throw out my standard pitch about 988, or, if military one source or chaplain, if you're thinking you can't get through something, because the reality is, and I'm proof of it, Gonky's proof of it. Anytime you're going through a rough time, there's light at the other side, and you are tougher than you think. You just got to give yourself a little bit of credit and realize that if you just jump in, it's not going to be as bad as you thought it was. I mean, how many times have you, I don't want to fight, and then you end up getting in that fight and you're like, yeah, that didn't hurt. Not advocating going and fighting people, but sometimes you have to throw caution to the wind and just jump in. So, Gonky, what do you got?
Yeah. I mean, kind of like you're saying, man, with mental health, you're stronger than you think. It's kind of that attitude of, you got to, face fights when what is in front of you, right? Face what's happening. And a lot of times, like you said, you do get through it. And then once you're through it, you kind of look back like, wow, I didn't know I had it in me. That's happened to me many times. And, in aviation, that was one of the coolest things about being an instructor was, you know, you get the you know, the new students and they're winged aviators. I was IP at the Hornet Squadron, and like, you know, when you're teaching phases, they can be very difficult. And, you know, it was really cool to help students get through these phases and then, you know, onto the other side of training. I was never an LSO, but like, I know when I went to the boat, that was, you know, one thing I'm like, I don't know if I can mentally do this. And I'll be completely honest. My first pass at night in a Hornet, I had a slight mental breakdown. Thank God they waved me off for foul deck and I had a chance to collect myself. But then I just told myself, dude, if I can keep it together for about another 5 seconds, you know, I'm going to touch the deck. And, you know, once that happened, I got through it. And, you know, that's something I didn't think I could get through. And I saw that like with some of my friends and a lot of the students that I ended up training. But it's pretty amazing what human beings can go through when they put their minds to it. But that's my take on it. Mace, what do you think?
I think that's like going through those things and then recognizing that you were able to get through something that seemed impossible at the time and like proving to yourself that you do have that capability again and again is what builds perseverance, right? That's like the thing. I think eventually you get to a point, especially if you've been through something really hard, there's, you know, post-traumatic growth, where on the other side of that, if you're willing to look at that hard thing that just happened in a positive light, as far as like, okay, what did I learn from that? How can I do things differently? Like what relationships did I gain that I wouldn't have had before because of that, rather than the victim mentality of just like, oh, all this bad stuff always happens to me and I have no control of anything. If you choose to take that instead, you can get to this spot where you grow so quickly and you suddenly are like, oh, I can do hard things. Like bad things will happen. Unexpected things will happen. That's life, but it's okay because yes, it will suck at the time, but I can get through it. And I think like once you kind of it's like this bulletproof mentality, right? Where you're like, all right, like we'll get through this. It's going to suck, but it'll be okay.
Yeah. Perfect. Awesome.
Unfortunately, we don't have Doug here to tighten us up.
I know. Doug always
doctor stuff.
Yeah, but we do have the audience. John says success is not final, failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts. Winston Churchill. And John's a longtime viewer, and we talk law enforcement stuff a lot. And you see that in law enforcement, people that are afraid to go hands-on and people that are afraid to actually, you know, get their hands dirty. And 9 times out of 10, when you have that fear because you're afraid you're going to get hurt, you get hurt worse because it spirals out of control. And if you'd have just taken control of the situation and not worried about getting hurt, it wouldn't have been as bad. So, but also train, always train, you know, be prepared, because that's what gets you through these times is training and experience and all that stuff. Bill says Marine Corps training seems like an even better idea for this modern day cast. Have to qualify as rifleman in order to make it into the back seat. I think he's talking about the drone stuff. Yeah. Michael says, how will Ukraine kick F-16s kick ass without tanker gas? You don't need it. You're landing over your
small area.
Yeah. The Vipers got plenty of legs for that. Janitor's back says, who you can possibly get as Mace's crew chiefs to talk about the enlisted side of the Thunderbirds and the Air Force. All right.
Maybe.
Matt says, Gonky, can you speak to the differences between the Navy and Marine Hornet guys, i.e. performance of the boat, culture, flying prowess, and what your personal observations were of the Marine Corps guys? It sounds like a whole video.
This is a trap, I think.
Yeah, I give you the quick and dirty. So the Snakes were our next door neighbors on the boat, and they were the Marine Squadron. Culturally, they're great group. They were not afraid to turn the screws to leadership on the boat. They had some really good skits, epic skits, actually. You know, their ready room was designed kind of like, I don't know, maybe a hooch you would see somewhere out in the desert, you know, if you were a ground pounder. As far as their performance at the boat, the Marines do it kind of weird. It's all the same training. They have LSOs just like we do, but not every Hornet Squadron is a boat deploying squadron. So we had in the Snakes at the time, I would say half of their more senior leadership, 04 and above, the only boat experience they had was like 15 years ago when they got their initial qual, and they hadn't seen a boat yet because they were flying like D models, land-based squadron. And so it's kind of funny because their senior guys were just as bad as us new guys called Nuggets. So they're essentially Nuggets doing a first boat tour, but as senior guys in the squadron. Great fighter pilots, just not that salty behind the ship. So, but overall, I loved having the Snakes on the ship because they kept things interesting.
Okay. I have nothing to add. Mace, you got anything for that?
Well, I'm married to a Marine, not on boats, but he would talk about them stealing everything on deployment.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
they would like roll into the chow hall and they would steal like all of the pallet of Cliff Bars or whatever. And everyone would be like, where did all of the Cliff Bars for the whole month go?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
On the boat.
I will give it to the Marines. They were, when it came to, man, twisting the screws of, it was just fun to watch because they would do things that that we wouldn't do. It made it a lot of fun.
All
awesome.
good fun.
Yes.
And then Thomas says Thunder Luna.
Nice.
And if anybody's wondering,
she's gone.
She's
gone.
Dude, she ain't coming back.
No.
And that is our show, Mace.
Mace, thanks for coming.
Yeah.
Thanks for being on the show.
For sure. I
Like
need to go to bed.
We need you to report back from Oshkosh now.
Yes. I need to get to Oshkosh, which I've never been concerned about before this year.
One last one. Colton says, got another question for Mace. What decides a go, no go for performance maintenance wise? Did you ever have something break during a show or one of the birds have a problem?
Yes, many times. I mean, we still have like normal maintenance requirements, essentials that we have to have if we get, a caution light or warning light or something doesn't pass a ground test during ground ops. We're not going to take it. Probably even more than a gray squadron because we are operating so close to the ground and so close to one another. I mean, I've hit birds. I've had engine lights come on. Someone else got an overheat light, landed real quick, and there was a pending fire from that one. I mean, stuff goes wrong with the jets just like anywhere else, but we're very close to an airfield, which is very nice.
It helps.
Yeah,
it helps. Awesome. But anyway, like I was saying, thanks for joining us. Good luck at Oshkosh. I hope you have 1 million people buy your book.
Yes.
And then buy your jet.
Yes.
So you don't have to fly on a 737 5 hours across the water.
Perfect. My Vision jet to fly myself to Hawaii. What's the range on those?
I wouldn't do a Vision jet across the Pacific.
Yeah, I was like,
I don't think it would do well.
We're gonna need more crowdfunding.
You could go to the Caribbean. I mean, you could just narrow your range a little bit.
Mace, when you're at Oshkosh this week, when you're doing the book signing, just like, hey, what kind of airplane do you have? Cool. Hey, I need a ride to.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah. I've had some situations before with speaking events where I had like one Southwest flight that would just barely get me from one in time to the next. And I'm like, I really need my own airplane.
Tax write-off.
Never make
also,
money.
Thank you, NATO, for watching our show. We're sorry that we embarrassed you in whatever manner.
Sorry.
Yeah, probably not invited to their next party.
No, but Mace will be, and you'll have to report back.
Yeah,
I mean, maybe I said that everyone at NATO pees, and I don't know if that's like in the criteria of respectable conversation about the organization.
If they're not, then they need to see a doctor.
Correct.
Yeah, true.
That's renal failure.
Correct.
That's a whole different thing. That's not the mental health minute. That's just the health minute. Like if you're not peeing, consult your doctor. Anyway, thanks for watching.
Yeah, we'll see you guys. Yeah, I guess see you guys next week.
All right, later.